really the railroad comparison. I don't think I've heard that before, and that really is incredible. And it's interesting because like I said, I kind of am the normie perspective for the team here on our marketing team for Corium. And so a lot of it is me trying to wrap my head around stuff and see if I can explain it to my mom, right? Or explain it to my fiance. Just try and package it up so that they can understand it. And I maybe made the same jump in my own mind, like, Web3 is gaming. It's going to be this metaverse style gamified situation, and this is where crypto, or this is where Web3 is headed. And absolutely, as you said, the simplification of the UX and the UI, because like looking at some of these platforms initially, I'm like, I just close the window because it's just terrifying. That really is a huge inroad for being able to just like couple taps, or even as a developer, with the developers that I know, simplification of when I ask them like, hey, do you know anything about like blockchain development and stuff? They're like, nah, we stay away from that because it is so new and so complex. So that's where I think it's so cool that like a cookbook exists to just make that process easier.
100%. Yeah, I think some people may need to revise some of their expectations and timelines if more tooling or cookbooks itself begins to expand within all ecosystems and development becomes like more streamlined, easier, more accessible, all of these things. Like we just get more of what we want at an accelerated pace. And I think, as far as like the broader overview of where trends are headed, like I think you're spot on, and I align like a lot of what the visions you shared as well. Obviously we're waiting on like, some global regulatory standards to, be more mainstream and standardize the way that processes work, particularly like to circle back to real world assets, like the on-chain to off-chain synchronization of how those assets are represented on-chain. Like we need a regulatory framework for exactly how that looks. Also too, I think more broadly, we have like, many tokens kind of populating the entire ecosystem with shoehorned type of utilities, and there's a lot of like, in my opinion, greater fool dynamics happening going on where there's marketing of what some might consider like a vaporware type of product, and somebody cashes out while other people lose money. And so I think it's up to like real established and passionate teams such as yourself to rewrite the script and redefine the way that digital assets can provide utility and value to everyday users at a level where they may not even necessarily know that they're utilizing a blockchain, where also people understand the benefits that can be actualized through the implementation of this technology, one of those being removal of middlemen. So absolutely.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, I think one of the concerns that I have and that I've chatted with Tyler about, and Tyler, we wrote an op-ed that we published a few weeks ago, talking about like, what do we need to bring more Web3 devs into the space and to better activate the Web3 devs that we have, like to sort of let them cook. And one of the things we talked about was, the sort of sense of tribalism, and that Cookbook in particular, our goal is not to pick winners and losers. If you want to build, we want to help. That's the bottom line. And I'll give you another sort of old-timey 19th century analogy, which is, when the gold rush and silver rushes happened, there were basically two classes of people. There were people who showed up and said, I'm going to get a gold claim and maybe I'll strike gold and be astronomically rich, or maybe I'll find nothing. And there were people who sold pickaxes to the gold miners and the silver miners, right? And the pickaxe people said, look, I'm not going to, make a king's ransom, but I'm going to make money for sure. I don't have to find gold. Everybody needs a pickaxe. So I think of Cookbook as a pickaxe protocol, where it's like, as I say, some of these L1s and L2s and other projects are going to make it, some are not, but everybody's going to need devs. And our goal is like, we want to support innovation. We want to support Web3. We want to expand the universe of the number of devs. We're working with College DAO and blockchain clubs at universities and talking about how can we get them starting to think about Cookbook now, and like, students in India, where my understanding from people I've spoken to who live out there is there's an enormous amount of social pressure for kids in college in India where their parents are like, do you know how hard we work to send you to school? You better get a job with a good company. And a good company means Google, Amazon, Apple, like some sort of Web2 behemoth, Microsoft. Well, those guys really aren't hiring right now, certainly not in the way that they have been. And there's just not the juice left in that orange that there was 10 or 20 years ago. Like, you're not going to see the kind of astronomical growth in Web2 tech that you saw in the first part of the 21st century. Like, I saw somebody in my Twitter feed said, I've been at Amazon for 10 or 15 years, and in that time, our revenue has grown 40x. He said, if it grew another 40x from here, it would be larger than the GDP of the United States. So that's not happening. So, the thing that we want to impress upon, like, not just existing devs, but new devs, is there's an opportunity here. Web3 is a young industry. It needs devs. And if you are approaching this with the sort of sense of, but all I know about is Java or Python or C++, how do I get started with these new languages, Rust and Solidity and Move? Say, here's Cookbook. This tool will help you. And so, I think our approach is we really want to work with whoever we can who is trying to build in the space, innovate in the space, and wants to do something to make life better for their devs. Period.
Such a great analogy too. I keep like pining about your analogies, but I mean, the pickaxe thing is it's just so perfect, because it really is that. It's and we think of ourselves, I think at Quorum, Michael and I have talked about us being a solution for developers and for businesses looking to come on chain, creating initiatives for new businesses and companies that are new to Web3, becoming that gateway to really get them on chain, find a way to bring this on-chain, off-chain communication into one place, because that is going to be the future, as you said. And the more we can do that, I think it's interesting, because like as we're talking about this, I'm thinking about, like, in Web 2, there's a lot of, maybe early on, your email address. I remember at some point, like, I wasn't just creating 1,000 Gmails. Like, my email address was like my name. It felt like you knew it was me. And now, as time has progressed, obviously, it's so easy to create emails, so easy to be scamming, be fake. So Web3 has kind of been that same thing, where now you have your wallet, but you can create 1,000 wallets now. So as they start to KYC and start to bring things into being real, putting some of these assets as they move on chain, and being able to take your gold and make it lightweight, but know that you have it somewhere. That whole process is it's really interesting to me. And that really seems like the RWA use case of the future. Like, that next big step is going to be just like digitizing this real world that we live in.
Yeah, I mean, and not all of it is like, I mean, you could get real sophisticated with the RWA stuff and be like, oh, it's going to be smart cities, where it's like every lamppost is going to be on chain, like every inch of every square of concrete in the sidewalk is going to be on chain. But you could do, I mean, there's simple stuff where it's like stock certificates. I've read about investment banks that are like, oh, we lost the stock certificates, or we got confused about storage and maintenance of the stock certificates. It's like, guys, this is idiotic. This is not the 1700s. Just put this on chain, for the love of God. And so it's those sorts of things that, I think are really low-hanging fruit opportunities for huge markets. And I think we're going to see that sort of stuff first. And I think that's coming for sure.
Yeah, like, I need to go to the DMV and get a new driver's license, and I hate it. I hate that I have to do that. And like, I wish I could just have it in my wallet, and it's real, and then you just scan my QR code or something. There it is. I got a driver's license.
Yeah.
To use our aligned terminology here, just cooking up a nice recipe to, like, in alignment with Quorum's like kind of one of the flagship features of Quorum being native smart contract functionality, largely eliminating the need for like external or interaction with external smart contracts for programmable logic, and optimized for like business cases and enterprise grade use. So yeah, I'm really excited about where the future is headed in general, and specifically what we're cooking up in our zone as well.
Yeah, same. And it's been very exciting, as I said, to be partnering with you guys and to see the activity. It's been great. So it's wonderful to be working with you, and I appreciate you having me on again.
Absolutely. Before I have you go, I gotta ask something about the future real quick. Like, what do you guys see as your next steps? What's the next 5 years or so looking like? 10 years, 20, 100 years
For Cookbook?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh man, that's easy for us. We're kind of at the point where like we're still basically pre-revenue. We have some money coming in, but it's almost been like a test of like, will people pay for this? And now we're, currently raising around, and the funds that we're putting together, we've had a lot of interest, especially from, people who understand development, DevRels and blockchain ecosystem funds. And what we're going to do with those funds is build out primarily the product team and build V2. And Cookbook V2 is something that is going to be much more robust as a tool set and as sort of like a holistic piece that if you're starting up a blockchain, you can almost just like prefab drop this in, and it's got template docs and everything your devs need to start building on chain right away. So we talk about it as like Hugging Face for Web3 or Vercel for Web3. And I think that is definitely the next step for us, is to build that more mature product. And then where we go from there, I think kind of depends on where Web3 goes. But I think, as I said, like the really exciting thing for us is whatever direction or shape the Web3 space takes, it's going to be guided by devs, and we help devs. So I think we're like, in that sense, just very excited to be contributing and to be along for the ride.
Incredible, man. Incredible. Well, Adam, thank you so much, man, for joining us, taking the time today. I know I appreciate it. Like it's good to really get a firm understanding of that. Like Cookbook, just I was like, okay, it's this AI thing. This is really cool. I kind of got the quick version of it, so it's great to get some more insight into everything you guys are doing over there.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you again for having me on.
Absolutely, man. All right. Take it easy.
All right, man.